everybody. So we are here with the Wild Things. I'm going to do a flip through. I am so in love with this little book, this little story. And I haven't 100% decided what I'm going to do with this journal yet. I want to keep it, but I know I probably shouldn't. So anyways, excuse me, you're going to have to work with my little cough here. So let's kind of just jump right into this. Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak is a children's book that I just think it's the cutest little story. I've seen the movie, read the book, and I've been wanting to do this journal for a while now. So I finally made it happen. So let me just kind of go over where we're at. It's pretty chunky. I'm not 100% pleased with the chunkiness of it, but my option was to do another spine, but I kind of really didn't want to. I wanted to keep this book, this blue book. It's a law book. Kind of wanted to keep the spine intact. Didn't want to. I struggle with making spines and taking books apart in that regard. So I didn't really want to tackle that. I was hoping I could keep it smushed enough and not so thick that that it would work. And so it works. He's just pretty chunky. So yeah, lots of lessons learned in this guy, but still, I love it. I didn't really do a tassel. I just tied some fuzzy yarn and eyelash trim around the top of the 3 signatures sewn in. The spine is done with some fabric beads that I've made. I did another video previously on them. The technique I used was one that I saw my friend Mary Ellen with Red Parrot. She does these fabric beads, and so I wanted to try them, and so I did, and we made it happen. So it's tied with I always call these sari-ish silks. They're not sari silks. They're some sort of sari-like ribbon. But anyways, it's tied with that. It's sewn into the edge here, so it's not going anywhere. There is some brown suede covering the spine. Soft, furry, like I imagine maybe one of the Wild Things are. I used 2 different books, or 2 copies of the book for this journal. One was a hardcover in some pretty rough shape, and one was a soft cover in some pretty rough shape. This is part of the cover of the soft cover. I don't know if you can see or not, but it's pretty stained right through there. So both of these books that I chopped up were headed for the dump anyways. So for all those people who say we shouldn't chop up books, we chop them up and we make a new life for them. So 2 books made the life of this new book. So I'm going to read you guys the story. I'm going to read along. I always struggle with reading along and then explaining what I've done throughout the book. So we're just going to make it happen. So that's the cover. It's the little guy that's on the cover of the soft cover book. The inside I left alone. The inside cover I left alone, and then took the fly pages from the book and I've added them to both the inside covers. This book, this law book, has an extra tucked the way it's made. You can tuck something in there. I did not, but you can. So yeah. So let's jump into it. I'm just going to jump into the story and kind of explain each page as I go through the story. The night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief. I've got this on a flip out from a card with a wolf because he's wearing his wolf suit. So He made mischief of one kind and another. So there's Max. Let me get you in frame here. Making some mischief. Running down the stairs. He was actually chasing his little dog in here, but I cut that part out. The dog looked pretty scared. So his mother called him Wild Thing, and Max said, "I'll eat you up." So he was sent to bed without eating anything. I made a little journal card out of that. This is an extra little writing space journal card tucked in there. Of course, all the images are from the books that I've chopped up, unless I say otherwise. That very night in Max's room, a forest grew. So we have a leaf printed card, flip out for writing space. And tucked in here is a postcard. It's a vintage postcard. I don't see a date on it anywhere, but it's of a forest, rainforest of the Ho River. But anyways, I thought it looked, he's talking about the forest growing in his room. So I stuck a little picture of Max in the forest on this postcard, tucked in there in his little room. There's a flip out for writing space. And you can see Max's room is turning into a forest. So a forest grew and grew and grew. There's another forestry type card for writing space. And grew until his ceiling hung with vines and the walls became the world all around. This little journal card tucked in here, a little tiny belly band, the vines. This is some ribbon. Vines hanging from the ceiling. This is scrapbook paper with some vine print. I don't know if you can tell in the light, but it's dark blue with light blue vine print. You'll see it throughout the book. And then there's a little envelope pocket with some vines on it. Inside there is Where the Wild Things Are. This came from the cover of a Where the Wild Things Are activity book. So I created a little journal card out of that. And then this little card is just a note card with the vines on it. Tuck that in there. This yellow paper is onion skin dyed paper of mine. I've attached a green little leaf here. This is a big envelope flip out. Inside is a journal card with some stitching. This is the forest growing in his room. The center is more of the forest growing, and Max is looking a little mischief here. Vines hanging from the ceiling. Two little journal cards here with stitching around. More of the forest that his room turns into. I've got some fake leaves and some greenery stuff here. And along the side of this paper, this onion dyed paper. More images from the book. A green journal card, forestry looking. And then also a little notepad, writing space tucked in here. Get it tucked in there. More writing space, images from the book, and some scrapbook paper with the vines on it. A little tuck spot with a fake leaf on it. Also tucked in here is a journal card that I did back in March when we did Mass Make March. One of the prompts was with the CD cover. So this is a CD cover that I've placed an image inside it and decorated it. Typically this would be a shaker card, but this one has no shakies in it. It's just a simple journal card. But it's forest scene and it says imagine. And I imagine that that's what Max is doing. He's imagining this forest growing in his room. Back to the story. And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max, and he sailed off through the night and day. It's tucked in a little vellum envelope. Image from the book and some eyelash trim. and in and out of weeks and almost over a year to where the wild things are. So Max is sailing to where the wild things are. This is an image from the book. Eyelash trim. Here's a big journal card made from a piece of the book tucked in here. A nod to the author and artist. Story and pictures by Maurice Sendak. So he's going to where the wild things are. He's sailing to where the wild things are. This is kind of a 2 or 3 part flip out. Flip out here, and there's another picture, a postcard, vintage postcard of a forest. I imagine that's where the wild things are. At least to me, that's where they'd be. And then there's journal writing space here. And this flips up to a blank card here with feathers on it, tucked in there. And then this one flips down. Trying to make sure you're in screen, with another blank journal card with feathers on it. And then some journaling space here with the green forestry. This back page is more writing space. The fireflies, some scrapbook paper, you'll see it throughout. I just love it. I think of nighttime and where the wild things are. In the forest, in the woods with the fireflies. So he's sailing along and he's going to where the wild things are. And here's one of the wild things. And he's blowing smoke to Max in the boat. This is some beaded sequin that I just glued on for that effect. This paper is a glittery, shiny scrapbook paper. You'll see it throughout as well. So here's the wild thing blowing smoke at Max. He's sailing along. Inside here is tucked little notepad from an image from the book with some eyelash trim. Journal space. So Max is not looking too happy here, but he is arriving to the island or to where the wild things are. There's one of the wild things greeting him, using the front or part of the cover of the soft cover. So this is shiny. Created a little booklet with some scrap papers that tucks in there. So when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth. So I've added some satin lace trim that to me look like teeth. And then there's also some trim here it's such a weird feeling trim. But I kind of think of it as their claws or their teeth. Anyways, so he's arrived to where the wild things are. In here is tucked, little pocket tuck. We have a postcard, another vintage postcard. This has a little bit of writing on it, but Miss Ellie or Mr. Ellis. But some trees. I imagine this is kind of what the trees look like where the wild things are. And then also here is another journal card that I've made. Now there are 4 images throughout this book. This is photographer Mitchel Wu. He does photography with toys. He sets them up in scenes and does photography with them. I highly encourage you to check out his website. He does Toy Story and Star Wars toys and all sorts of fun stuff. But he has 3 or 4 of them that are where the wild things are. And I absolutely love them. I just think they're so cute. And so I contacted him via Instagram and said, hey, I love your stuff. Mind if I print your images and use them in this book I'm working on? And he said, yep, that's fine. So there they are. I'm giving him credit on the back, Mitchel Wu Photography. I highly encourage you to check him out. But the Wild Thing ones, I just fell in love with. So made some journal cards out of them. So there's that one. So we've arrived where the wild things are. So what did they do? They gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. See, there's the jagged claws that kind of remind me of that trim. Till Max said, "Be still," and tamed them with the magic trick. So here he is taming them with his magic trick of staring into all their yellow eyes without blinking once, and they were frightened and called him the most wild thing of all. So here is a yellow eye. It's glued to the page, and this is some handmade scrapbook paper. I imagine this is kind of the magic that he's the magic trick he's putting on this, spell he's putting on them. So you'll see this throughout this next couple pages, this blue spirally magic trick paper. So he's putting his little magic trick on them to be quiet and be still so he can become king. So they called him the most wild thing of all and made him king of all the wild things. So here he is being king. I've got some gold shiny paper cut out for a king's crown. Here's some more of the magic trick blue sparkly paper. And we have a shaker card in here. It's the moon and the stars, and there's little shakers in here. On the back is a blank journal card. So that's tucked in there. So they made him king of all the wild things. Here he is being king, still under the magic spell. Here is a tiny little notepad made out of some gold crown paper. Tucks in a little envelope here, a little pocket. So the monsters are bowing down to having him be king. They're all kind of listening to what he's doing, what he's saying. And so now, cried Max, let the wild rumpus start. So here is the monster with his tail, getting ready to start the wild rumpus. So, in here we have a page from the book. We made a tuck out spot. I put the definition of rumpus: a noisy or violent disturbance, commotion, uproar. Made a journal card out of that. And then here is another one of Mitchel Wu's photographs, the wild things, and they've got a wild rumpus going on. That tucks in there. So they're all howling under the moon. You can't see it, but I've done little random stitchings throughout this book. The moon is stitched, the spiral is stitched. It's hard to see though in the light. So, page from the book, Max and the Wild Rumpus has begun. Here's a little journal spot, little cloud journal spot. Being wild and engaging in the rumpus. Here's Max hanging from the tree. Here's a pocket with some fake leaves and some greenery stuff. In it is tucked a little fold-out journal card with the Wild Rumpus image. It's pretty popular for this book. They're still hanging from the trees, having a wild rumpus. Here is another one of Mitchel Wu's photography cards, journal card. They're having a wild rumpus. They're kicking up dirts, and crown is going everywhere. This is a pocket with a sewn-on quilted square. Blank page. This is some orange paper, cardstock paper with some coffee dyed splatters on it. Hanging from the trees, the wild rumpus is still going on. Here are the lightning bugs. I'm sure people call them different in different areas, but they're lightning bugs to me. I'm from South, they're lightning bugs. Glow bugs. What else are they called? Lightning bugs to me. The wild rumpus is still going on. Max is still the king. Lots of journaling space here. So this flip here is another one of the cloud pages where you can, for journal space. The envelope flips out. There is a little bird card, journal card. Looked like a wild thing to me. And then on the front of this envelope flip out is another little wax created envelope. Oh, this was sent to me in some happy mail from my friend Mirandy. She has a website, YouTube. My mind is going blank. Mar Crafting, I believe. I hope I got that right. My mind just kind of went blank. Anyway, she sent me this in some happy mail. It's a waxed little envelope that she made. And it just kind of worked perfectly here. There are several of these images, excuse me, of the wild things. This kind of reminded me of this. They kind of reminded me of each other. That's where this wild bird comes in, is the wild bird wild thing. This little journal card I've stitched around, he tucks in there. I've got stickers that spell out wild here. They're gold and shiny. Blank card for journal space, journal writing with the feathers on it. Again, we're still kind of going with the bird. This is a flipped out page with the yellow onion skin paper with some more scrapbook paper scraps flipped out. This, they're having a wild rumpus still. Journaling space. Image from the book, and the images from the book kind of follow the story. There's a big section of the book where there's not a lot of talking going on. They're just having a wild rumpus, and it's pictures of the wild things. So here's some more writing space on this flip out. Lots of space for journaling, creating. And then, let's see here. This kind of goes together. All this kind of goes together. So let me get to the story. The story says, "Now stop," Max said, and sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. And Max, the king of all the wild things, was lonely and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. So he says stop and sends them off to bed without their supper. This is a cute little image that I had in an art book. This little cute little monster looked like he was stomping off to go to bed. So made a journal card out of him, tucked him in there. This little monster's already gone to bed. In here we have, this is a flip over around the card, around the page pocket. This journal card is made from one of the covers of the soft cover book. You can see it's got the Caldecott metal sticker on it. You can see it's nice and worn. Big journal card there. The other journal card is just a postcard with this wild beast looking thing on it. Some sort of buffalo. Anyways, I just thought he looked like he belonged where the wild things are. So tuck him in there as well. So Max says, sends everybody off to bed without their supper. He's lonely. This is Max lonely. And here's another monster that's off to bed without his supper. I added some of this fluffy yarn as his hairpiece journal card. This is image from the book, one of the fly pages, where the wild things are. Just folded it up and tucked it in here for more journaling space. So there's Max sitting there being lonely. In this pocket we have where the wild things are, journal card. Excuse me. This again was made from the activity book that I had, the cover of the activity book. This is another one of Mitchel Wu's photography. That's just Max by himself being all silly. Tuck that in there. And then here's another one of the little bitty journal cards of one of the monsters. It's tucked in here. And that's some random stitching on this pocket. So, the story continues. Then all around from far away across the world, he smelled good things to eat. So he gave up being king of where the wild things are. So Max smells something good to eat, so he gives up being king of where the wild things are. So here is a little flip out pocket envelope flip out. Here's his crown. He laid it down on the ground. He's given up being king because he smells good things to eat. This is my favorite part of the junk journal. Just saying. Mac and cheese box. I've scruffed it up, turned it into a journal card because I imagined that Max would like some mac and cheese. All kids like mac and cheese, right? So anyways, I searched for a different postcard with food on it. Couldn't find any in my stash. And I had this box of mac and cheese. I was going to turn it into a little journal just because the way the box was really cute. And I was like, oh, nope, you're just going to be a journal card. So we have a mac and cheese journal card. We have a little bitty, one of the little monsters journal card. They tuck in here. This card flips out for more journaling space. So, he gave up being king where the wild things are. Here's Max. Here's another one of the wild things. Little journal card. Excuse me. Here's a postcard. This is 1989, a postcard from Olympic Park, Washington. I just imagine, again, that that's what the wild things, where the wild things are. That's what it looks like. So, we took that in there. Random stitching throughout here for this pocket. But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up. We love you so." And Max said, "No." So the wild things love him so. They're going to eat him up. They love him so. So this is a heart-shaped flip-out card with some heart-shaped candies because, you know, this is a junk journal. And the monsters are crying, "We love you so. We'll eat you up." And so that's just what spoke to me. So here's another one of the little monsters journal card tucked in here with this, the anchors, because he's getting in his boat and he's telling the wild things goodbye. On some yellow onion dyed paper. The wild things roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his private boat and waved goodbye. And sailed back over a year and in and out of weeks. So they're gnashing their teeth and telling him goodbye. And here he is sailing over a year and in and out of weeks. And through a day. Here's a little pocket. It's kind of a hidden pocket because it blends with the book. But in it is two little journal cards. One with some random stitching that, again, matches the book. And one who has the little lion tucked in here. And there's Max sailing home. This is a belly band made out of the anchor. This is a folded flip out, just the image of him sailing home in the moonlight. Journal card flip out that tucks in that belly band. Some more of the onion skin dyed paper, perfect for journaling. This is another snippet of the book, just kind of collaged there. Then we get to this. This is just a tea dyed or coffee dyed paper. Tucked over it is a blank journal card that says home on it, that is shiny like the Max and shiny like the wild that's throughout the book. It's tucked over this fold along with a little Wild Things card and then a Home Sweet Home journal card. So that tucks there and the Home Sweet Home tucks there with a little... it's a rusted paper clip, so it's an altered paper clip. It's rusted with a little floof of the yarn. And it's just tucked over there. So, and into the night of his very own room, where he found his supper waiting for him. So here's his room. His supper's waiting here, his bowl of mac and cheese. In here is tucked just a postcard. This is an art postcard from 2011, Jennifer Perry Dodge. I imagine that's the night sky. So tuck that in there. So he found his supper waiting for him. And the last page is, and it was still hot. So let's flip out. There's plenty of journal space here. We have a little bit of journal space here. There's Max's bedroom window. We fold this over. This is a journaling space here. And then this is a page from the book, blank page that you can journal in. It tucks up under here. Another altered paper clip, rusted paper clip with the yarn fuzzies that I imagine the wild things are. That imagine it's so soft. I imagine that's how they feel. Then the last page is this little snippet from the book. And there you have it. We're done. So that is the flip through for this Wild Things journal. Again, I'm not 100% pleased with it. It's got some wonkiness because it's so thick. Because I just kept finding the cool stuff to add to it. But I like it, and I'm again not sure if it will be for sale in my Etsy or if he's going to stay on my shelf or what's going on with him, but there you have it. That's my flip through, and thank you for joining me as we went to where the wild things are. I will see you guys soon enough.